All right. We are going to get started. We are on day 2 of Stand in Your Power. I'm excited about today. We're going to dive a little bit deeper and we're going to be creating some art as well. We are going to be doing some breakout rooms. So if you are unable to participate, just kind of give me a heads up. But I think this is part of, I know it's a part of how you can really process the information. Because one thing that we learn something, and it's a second part where you actually create something, you're integrating it into your psyche, into your mind. And then when you share it, it really takes it to that next level. Okay, so it's reflecting, looking at how it's affecting your life, right? So I do invite you to play fully, right? That's why we're here, to show up. If you have any distractions, if you turn off your phone, put a little sign on your door if you need to, just so that you can give yourself this time, right? Because you're here for a reason. And I feel that even with the breakout rooms, whoever you are matched up with, that's the person you're supposed to be matched up with. So it's all good. And I am so proud of all of you. I have to say, you guys did your art. You posted it in the group. I was incredibly impressed with the drawings. They were great, of looking at what your why is. And I love that you were supporting each other, just witnessing each other where you're at and what's important to you. So my first question to all of you today is, was there any insights or ahas yesterday for you? And you can put that in the chat. And the other, which kind of goes along, is, did you see any common themes between people? Why their intention is? Victoria says hi from Dublin. All right, I love seeing and reading everyone's post because it allowed me to go, all right. So it made you stop and think. I saw a lot of people whose why was to help others in some way. Yes, it's really powerful to teach what we've learned for ourselves, right? I saw that as well. It seemed like a lot of people want to either do some sort of healing art or lead in some way, which is part of stepping in your power. I didn't realize, this is from Barbara, I didn't realize as I actually dove and drew that I was so afraid of being disconnected from reality in my pursuit of connection with energy and beyond. Okay, we're going to talk about that spiritual connection as well. So I'm glad you brought that up. It was fun to get more clarity on my why, because I do not usually lead with that. Okay, yes, it's so important to know what your why is, because that is what's going to pull you through. It was comforting to see others could take something from what I share. Beautiful. I'm glad you felt connected. And reading others people's why was inspiring. Beautiful. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So we're going to just kind of go ahead and dive in. I wanted to say congratulations we have a few winners here. We're going to get my digital book. We have Andrea Arundaro. She is a winner. Jennifer Fay is a winner, and so is Lilu Luther. So congratulations. I'll be sending you that digital book. And then today I'm actually going to be giving away my Oracle deck, which is, I worked really hard on this. It took about a year to complete. And right now it's actually in the second print run. So it's on, I would say it's on pre-sale, because I have to, when you create these decks, you have to buy them in bulk. And so this will be for the winner for tomorrow. But I said, since we're here, I am going to shuffle a little bit and pick a card for the collection, for the collective of the group. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see what's coming up. They're feeling, okay. Ooh, okay. So we have this one, and this is called Words Have Power. So this is about the throat chakra. And that's so funny. Before getting on here, I was just meditating. I was like, whatever, I have my little throat chakra crystal here. And I was like, whatever words are meant to come through today, that's what's supposed to come through. So that's what I was meditating on. So I think this card was definitely for me. It says, The words you speak to others are not only heard, but felt. So the words you say to yourself are created by your beliefs. Oh, this is totally related to what we're going to be doing today. Says this card is a reminder to choose your words wisely. Speak into existence your desires. Okay, this is really powerful because we are going to be talking about subconscious beliefs, because that's actually what rules our decisions and we're not even aware of it. So we're going to talk about that and really become aware of what we're saying and how we're stopping ourselves, because a lot of times we're not conscious of it. And so my intention today is just for you to bring that awareness, awareness of that story that we tell ourselves. Okay. So words have power. So let's think about that as our theme for today. All right. So I'm going to start off with talking from a question that came up yesterday. And it was from Lisa Ormsby. And she had wrote, she says, how do you push yourself over the edge when you're teeter-tottering on the fence of fear and standing in your power? So look at that visual, right? So look at that visual of what that looks like as artists, right? I see her on that edge. I don't know if it's a cliff. I don't know if it's a bridge. I'm not sure. Is it a nest in a tree? I'm not sure what that is for you, Lisa, but this is what the art we're going to be making today of what that fear looks like. Okay. So you've already started getting those visuals for yourself. So how do I push myself over the edge when I'm teeter-tottering on the fence of fear and standing in my power? So what I've noticed for most people, even for myself, or the clients that I work with, is that you get really sick and tired of where you're at. Okay. And the only thing that makes the change is action. All right. And so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow, is the action. But before we get to the action step, that's why we need to get clear of our intention or why. But we also need to get really clear with what this fear is and what it looks like and how it's showing up in our lives and how do we communicate with it and have a relationship with it, because it doesn't just come one time and then you get over it. It's going to come up in different areas and it's going to come up in different ways. And I really want you to start, listening to it and see where it's coming from so that you're going to know how to navigate. Okay. So that's where we're going to be starting. And what I want you to start thinking about is fear versus faith. Okay. And what I mean by that is that a lot of times when we want to take action, the ego will come in, right? And the ego has a function. The function is to protect you, right? And fear usually is that false evidence appearing real, right? It's things will come up. There's not a lion in front of us that's going to eat us. We're not going off a cliff. We're not like, there's no like really life or death, something happening, but the ego wants you to play small because it wants to protect you so that you're not getting seen, that your feelings don't get hurt, those type of things, right? And so part of this is we have to look at our fear and what that is and where is it coming from, and then we look at our faith. Okay. And faith is that connection to source energy. It's that connection to spirituality. It's connection to your intuition. Okay. Your faith is coming from love. Your intention, your why is coming from a place of love. So I don't know if you noticed that yesterday, that was a common theme. There were a lot of hearts. There was a lot of trees, spirituality, connecting with others, sharing that love, ripple effects. That's a place of love, right? So, and you can do this practice as like an everyday practice, as when the fear comes up throughout your day, say, to move forward, do I want to come from a place of fear and respond from a place of fear, which is usually run away, hide, be small, or maybe it might be a place of anger, right? It could be, you might respond with like an attack phase, right? That fight or flight or freeze. That's what fear is. And so, or then you can decide, am I going to come from a place of faith where I feel supported? And I know that I might not see what's going to come next. I'm not sure, but I know that I'm being guided and that I got this download, I got this inspiration for a reason, and that I'm going to follow it. Okay. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves permission to follow it. And when I say that, these are the words. That's so funny that we got that card, because the words are, and I hear this all the time, oh, I can't afford that. I hear that a lot from clients that like, oh, they want to work with me, and they're like, oh, I can't afford that. And it's like, well, listen, you know, how long can you not afford working on yourself and getting clear with your intention, and then showing up so that you can support others and help others, right? So we have to stop saying those words of, I can't afford it, I don't have time for it, because you are worth it. And it goes back to that self-love. We brought that up yesterday with Heather. It's just like, just loving yourself. And then the universe will provide for you. It will show up for you. And so we got to start being like asking a better question. And the better question is, how can I? And Lisa says limiting beliefs. Yeah, it's those limiting beliefs. So when you ask yourself a better question, this is where you're asking the universe, how can I do this? Right? And then being open to being guided. Okay. So I'll give you a story about that in just a second, but I wanted to talk about those limiting beliefs that Lisa just wrote there in the chat, because those limiting beliefs really come from that subconscious mind. When we're conscious something, we are knowing we're making a decision, make something about this, fear or faith, which way am I going? But the subconscious is that we're not aware of it. And the subconscious mind is actually our ruler. It's the ruler because it's making our decisions for us. And those beliefs come from our parents, came from our teachers, it came from our life experiences. These are memories. This is like, it's in your blood, it's in your cells, right? And when you have these experiences, and then that fear is, you know, it's triggered, and you don't explore it. And it's very hard to explore on your own, because you might be saying things, doing behaviors, it's so much a part of your patterns that you don't even realize that you're doing it. So this is why it's important to have a coach. It's important to have a therapist. It's important to get support and community wherever that is, right? So that you can change those patterns, because you can do reprogramming, and there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, you can do it through art therapy, there's EMDR, there's somatic therapy, there's all kinds of ways that you can reprogram your mind. I think art is really cool because you get to see the visual. You get to see the visual of your patterns of behavior, your, you know, what your thought process is, what those beliefs are. So we have to get to the root first. And that's what I just want you to be aware of today. What is that root? So that you can first, you know, step into that fear and say, okay, why are you here? And is this serving me? You know, and if it's not serving you, you can change it. You have that, you have so much power. You can change your thoughts around things. I mean, I even remember when I first started coming out with sharing my artwork to the world. And, you know, when I hid under the covers, well, I didn't really feel like I was worthy. And I had to change that thought. And I was like, you know what? My artwork is powerful. My artwork is healing, and I am worthy to feel good, because that's why I'm doing it, you know? So it's like, I had to tell myself a new story, right? So we got to look at like where those fears are coming from and how they got there, right? So that we can change that story. So I'm going to tell you a little story about when I started asking that word, how can I change my story? How can I get to my desires, right? How can I show up so I can serve more people, right? So that I can help them shine their light. So start asking yourself, how can I make this happen? And I'm just going to give you an example. When I did this deck, I had just mentioned that when you create part of these decks, it's not like a print on demand. Like books are really cool because you can print them and they'll come like the next day. Amazon's really cool like that. But with these decks, they haven't gotten there yet, at least that I don't know of. And you have to print like large amounts. And it's usually like an investment of, you know, buying a whole bunch. And I decided to do a Kickstarter to see if people were even interested in doing this, because if you don't get it fully funded, then your Kickstarter, you don't get any money at all. And so that's that risk. When I think about Lisa's questions, like you could be on that edge, but how do I know if it's really going to happen? Well, for one, you got to give yourself the permission to try, right? And then you got to give yourself that permission to ask, how can I? Okay. And so for me, I did that. And this is why it's really important to nurture your relationship with source, nurture your relationship with yourself, and start listening to your intuition. And there's many different practices, whether it's journaling, art making, because art is your oracle. Really start listening. And when I asked the universe, how can I get this funded? Because I've already had put so much work into making it happen. The next day, I went to bed that night. I asked the question. I woke up in the morning. I got an answer, and I followed that answer. I was like, okay, you wanted this to come out. Let me just follow what you said. The very next day, I followed the directions, and it got funded, fully funded. And I was just like, holy crap. I can't believe how amazing that is that I got funded because I listened and I followed the signs. So that's just a part of when you start doing that, when you start going more to the faith versus the fear, then you start getting those signs, and you know that you're divinely guided, and it just keeps showing up like that, right? The fear might come up, but you're still going to be divinely guided, right? And even in the Creative Soul Society membership last week, we did oracle cards of the crown chakra, and mine was, I'm always divinely guided. I wrote that on my card because I have to remind myself, because fear does come up for me. But I remind myself, I'm always divinely guided. When the doors don't open or they get shut in my face, you know what? Thank you, because you know more than me, and you know what direction I need to go in. And when you give me the floodgates to open, you're gonna let it happen for me, right? So just letting you know, we got to start asking different questions. Okay. So let's kind of go back. I'm going to go to just sharing my screen. Let's see here. Share. Okay, so let's just go to the common fears. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna go there next. Okay, so common fears that people have as they're stepping into their desires, as they're wanting to show up, are self-sabotage, right? We talk ourselves out of it. Sometimes that picture of fear that we do today might be yourself. I've seen that before. Excuses, it costs too much. I don't have the time. It's really reframing your perspective. You are so resourceful. You just might need to look at it in a different way, and being open to finding other ways to make it happen. People pleasing, not having healthy boundaries. I know that used to be a big one for me, and much better now. Not feeling good enough, afraid of failure, but also could be afraid of success. Wow, what if this actually happens? Woo! And then not enough support. And a lot of times we always feel like we need to do it alone, and you don't. It's really powerful to be in community, to work with other women, to support each other, to get their ideas. So those are really common fears that people have. And then where is this based out of? What are these blocks coming from? They come from shame, right? Shame, that feeling of not good enough, I'm too much, or I'm not lovable at all, is, I mean, as I'm saying, it could come from a past experience where you didn't get invited to that party when you were like 8 years old and it crushed you, right? And so that stops you from inviting people over to your house to have a women's circle, or doing something. Or maybe you didn't get enough attention when you were a kid from your parents, and you're just like, well, maybe I'm not good enough because they didn't give me any love or support and know what my strengths were, right? So you had to learn how to parent yourself. So this is where these things come from, right? It's like in your blood. It's processed in your brain, and you have to realize, okay, that's where it came from, but I can make a choice. I can make a change, right? And it is through that awareness first, and then taking action. It also comes from lack. So feeling that a disconnection from higher self. So I really feel like that's time of, how intimate are you with yourself? Like, how much time do you spend just getting clear with your thoughts, checking in with your feelings? You know, a lot of times when we have these fears, or we have anger or something, we want to push it away because we don't want to deal with it. You got to deal with it. You got to honor them. You got to explore it. You got to see where it's coming from and then choose what you're going to do with it. And then also the isolation, like I was just mentioning before, but not connecting with others, to tribes, communities, to help build your dreams. So we're all here to support each other, which is amazing. That's why you showed up. So I just asked you to be honest today with what that fear looks like for you. And yeah, let's just get really clear about, what's coming up. Okay, let me just go through here. Okay, so just some things to think about your fear is, so just take note of when you shut down, right? So a lot of the clients I work with, there's a lot of fear around money. That's a real big one, because a lot of times parents didn't talk about money. And we weren't really taught in school. How do you deal with money? How do you save? Where do you spend? Where do you invest? Those type of things. I know that that was one of my biggest lessons. Even when I hired a coach, my first coach, I had to get really intimate with my finances and really find out where I was spending money, what my values were, and where I needed to just shift some things, right? And then knowing my own worth. So I wasn't looking at like bills that were coming in. I would just put it aside, right? Because there was a fear, right? So look at places where you are shutting down or not, stepping up because you're scared. So where do you check out? So the patterns are everywhere. So we have to look within. So bring awareness to subconscious patterns, and stretch yourself. We're gonna definitely stretch ourselves tomorrow. But I really like this quote. This is by this girl called Nicole Sylvester. She says, your subconscious fear patterns will lead you to run from the very people, places, and activities meant to transform you. Love that. Because that's why that lesson is there, right? That's why your buttons are being pushed. That's why this, whatever experience is happening for you, that's where you need to hold space for yourself, right? And lean into it and be like, why is this showing up for me? And allow yourself to go into new territory, even though it's unknown, unfamiliar. That's the part of stretching yourself. Yes, we are being asked to grow. All right. Whew, some good stuff here. I am going to put this up here. So I'm going to have you draw the fear that is stopping you. Okay. So I'm going to give you, I know we're not spending too much time on it. I'm going to say like 10 minutes where, think about colors, shapes. What are the fears? When you think about your desire, what do you feel like is really stopping you? Or just be honest with yourself. What words are coming up? And you can do a visual, like Lisa was like on this edge of a cliff or edge of something, right? What does that look like? So you can, this is up to you. It might be a monster. Your fear might be a monster. It was just like, it feels this big. Yesterday I saw a couple drawings where the fear was actually in their drawing. Like I was asking what their why was, but they already put their fear. Well, that just means that it's showing up for you, right? It's showing up in your life. And like, which one are you choosing? You might be choosing the fear, continuing to choose that fear. So take your time. I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes, and then we're going to break out into breakout rooms where you're going to have that opportunity to meet new members in the group, because it's like just a random draw, and you're going to share your work from yesterday and where you are at today. Okay. So have fun. And it could be any aspect that you feel is stopping you. All right, I hope you had fun connecting with your fellow Creative Soul and Retreat members. I wish I was a part of those groups. I really felt like I wanted to jump in, but I was just holding space, just waiting, just letting things happen. And I would love to hear from someone that would like to share. Maybe they had some insights or ahas, or if you have a question. I'm not sure if anybody would be brave enough to share their fear. If we have a hand raised, that would work. Oh, I see a hand raised. Who is it? It is It's Ellen. Oh, you were here from yesterday. You're willing to share again. Okay. Let me just
I mean,
add.
somebody else can go if they want, but I just, if you want, I could get us started.
You can get us started. Go ahead.
Okay, so yesterday's was my why was connecting to and with self-source love others through creativity and community. I don't know if you could see that.
You can see it. Beautiful.
So that was that one. And then today I started, this isn't complete yet, but this is the beginning.
Mhm.
And so it's sort of like a cave of fear, but then for some reason I'm carrying a whole big satchel of fear along as I move towards the light, but the light is also inside of me. And some of the fears that are in the dark parts of this drawing were the fear of messing up, the fear of failure, some feelings of inadequacy were coming up, and then the lack of space to practice it all at once. So it's some of it are those roadblocks you create in your mind
Mhm.
because you can't do it all at once in one space, but maybe you just have to begin.
Mhm.
What I thought was really ironic was the universe brought the person who I shared the room with was somebody from Germany,
Mhm.
and I speak German as well. So I
Cool.
thought that was kind of interesting that the two of us ended up in the same room together and sharing. So thank you for letting me
Beautiful.
share.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned about failing, and that is a part of the process. And when you think about like professional athletes, you know how many times they're going to shoot a basket and not get it in, right? It's like you got to continue to give yourself permission to show up, to try, to fail, to learn, to find your way. Someone else had mentioned that in the chat too. She's like, oh, I've been going down these paths that I thought I was being guided, but it just seems like it's wrong. And it might not be wrong. It just might mean we have to find another way, and being open to that, allowing ourselves to say, okay, it's not working out, but I'm trusting, I'm surrendering. When you can surrender, it's very feminine energy, but if you can surrender, because it's not always about doing, it's being able to listen and just getting really clear about that. We're going to do that tomorrow, especially with taking our action step, but just to listen and say, well, let me try that out. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing. I do appreciate that. Falling forward, most definitely. Thank you, Lisa, for saying that. All right, we have a few here. I'm gonna pick Barbie because she hasn't gone yet. Go ahead.
Hi, Leah. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, so I think I was among the few that you mentioned sort of jumped the gun and started to like initially go into the fear illustration yesterday. And I noticed that, but only after the fact. And it was all perfect because I actually didn't even show up to yesterday's initial day with any ideas about what I was like. I just showed up like really fresh, right? I wasn't even anticipating what I was going to be dealing with or anything like that. So it was actually super surprising to me to start to just sort of draw in a very abstract way and realize that I was feeling a weirdness of like, okay, well, the more that I reach into things that seem abstract, the less connected I feel to what's actually physical here, in the world. So I took that and I actually minimized it and really took a moment to address it. So this is yesterday's drawing, but actually like really small. And the whole thing is kind of just speaking into the fear, which I got to sort of reflect on by being in that room with these two lovely ladies who are actually afraid of being seen. I'm not going to share their names because, it's for them to do so. But yeah, they were both afraid of being seen. And I realized just through hearing them speak their truth and speak into their experience, I'm not so afraid of being seen as much as I'm being afraid, as much as I am afraid of being seen and then overlooked. And then, just sort of like going, hello, see the hello there. And then I saw something in yesterday's drawing that I didn't notice until very much after. And I'm talking about like I'm sitting in bed and it just happened to be on my wall and I saw it. that this was meant to say all one.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like everything bled together afterwards, but all one, I kept seeing the word alone. Like if you drop an L, it says alone.
Mhm.
All alone is what ended up at the end of the day with me, and what I reflected upon and what I recognized was the biggest sort of
Yeah.
crunch. So there it is.
Yeah, it sounds
Thank you
like the
so much
biggest
to the two
fear.
lovely ladies that I shared space with. I want to say they were both beautiful to me and they deserve to be seen.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I just want to comment on that because that could be the biggest fear, just being alone. Like you said, not being like putting yourself out there, but then not being seen. And that goes back to your why, your intention of getting even stronger at that, because as you show up and you put yourself out there, say you broadcast it, you're not actually looking for approval. And that's where it's like, that's where we want to be seen and recognized. So it's kind of like, it's approving yourself. It's saying, I'm showing up and I'm proud that I showed up. Even me doing these experiences, like, I'm proud that I followed through. I congratulate myself on that. You know, like that's like part of this process. And even like showing up to my artwork and putting it out there. I don't care how many likes I have. That's not my intention. It's because I showed up and I am so freaking satisfied that I showed up and I completed a painting last night. I was like, yay. And that's what I'm sharing. That's what I'm broadcasting. Okay. So just kind of, it's like a shift of perspective a little bit.
A little bit of a pivot. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for showing up. Okay, Jen Fay, we still have time. Let me add you on here, add a spotlight. Go ahead.
Hi. So this is just a reminder, this was mine from yesterday, the ripple effect.
Yes.
And this was really interesting because I thought my fear would be a monster. But then when I thought about like fear of the unknown, I really like to know the how. And that's something I'm working on, like letting go of the how. So I was like, no, it's kind of more like a black hole in the cosmos. And what was really interesting is as I started drawing it, I noticed I was starting to draw it as a spiral, which I see as a very like positive thing and like positive energy. So like, that's really interesting. And then after I started adding some more colors, and as I got to the end, I was like, well, what would happen if I like took my 3 healing colors and they like walked with me into the unknown and into like this spiral, like this portal, this black hole? It wouldn't be quite as scary. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. And I just, I was very shocked that like, I went, oh wait, but I'm drawing a spiral. That's not so scary. And it kind of like just helped alleviate some of the fear.
Yeah, because it's going to be there. It's not like you can't just I love to kill like my ego and it's like, just go away, but it comes back up. And I'm just like, oh, I know you. Like, I know what that fear is, right? And I was like, well, how do I want to navigate it? And I love the way you navigated it. You're like, you know what, let me bring those colors of my intention, my light. And that's what you're going to say, like, you got these 2 hands. So which are you going to go towards faith, right? The love, your intention, your why, or are you going to choose fear again and say, you know what, it's not really serving me. It doesn't really feel good. Because when you do step into your power, it's going to have that ripple effect. If you stay in your fear, it's not. So beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Awesome. I think we have one more. We'll have Karen Dawn, and then we will wrap up. So let me just come back here. Let me find you really quick. There you are. Sorry, it took me a minute. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Well, this is my drawing from yesterday. I haven't put any color on, but I had all these ideas of things that I wanted to do, but they all had a common theme, like most of them were about belonging, feeling community, about learning or sharing my knowledge, being inspired, about my personal healing journey, and just the notion of feeling like, oh, I have something of a purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, and to do something that basically I feel is an accomplishment. So today I realized my fear is pretty much myself in my own head. So I made a picture of sort of myself, and in the hair, I was writing just things that were that fears that I put in my own head, like I'm not good enough, or that I'm afraid to like use certain art materials because I'm afraid I'm going to ruin them, and just I have fear of like technology, so I don't want to try it, and the fear of not being appreciated for my efforts, or even if you think about it, the fear of doing something and then I'm not appreciating what I did, like not liking what I did. So those are the so it's basically I need to feel like I need to just reprogram my thoughts, my thought patterns, and just take small steps to do things and be okay if it doesn't come out okay.
Yes, most definitely. And a really good one for that is look at all the accomplishments that you've done so far, because you have experimented with different materials, you've had connected in community in many different ways. So it just make a list of the things that you have manifested and that have been accomplishments for you that you feel good about, right? And so that can start helping with that reprogramming.
That's helpful. That really is helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Awesome. And so I am grateful for all of you showing up today and sharing yourself, sharing with the community. One other thought that I want to just put on here, because we are going to, I'm asking you to share your fear picture with community, and you can write a little message, what it's about, is think about where that fear came from. Like I said, this is subconscious. This came from people that we grew up. Like, I don't know, maybe it was, I'm just going back to Karen because you were just right there. I was like, maybe your mom didn't let you make a mess. You know, you're like, don't make a mess, blah, blah, blah. And then you're scared to make a mess now. You know, like it comes from somewhere that was put in your head, right? It's there. So think about like, oh yeah, when you start making those connect the dots, it's like, whoa, it's such a release. It feels good. Okay. It's definitely a process, and when it comes up, just ask where does it come from? Okay, so I'm going to just share one more time. I'm going to share the image of the sticker. I actually put the sticker up before we started because you guys were real quick yesterday posting your image, and I remember Barbie was like, we don't usually do it that way, we always do it under a sticker, but I was like not quick enough yesterday. So this is day 2, the Art of Healing and Manifesting Oracle deck. So you can put your image and your write-up under this sticker, just because it's easier to find. I think I miss things when they're floating around. So it's easier for everyone to just kind of comment on your post when we have it all in one space. All right. And then just to let you know, for those of you who are open or wanting to dive a little bit deeper, I have the next couple of weeks that I am offering a couple of Creative Soul consultations. I have some time for that. So if you'd like to schedule a session with me, it's totally free consultation and you are welcome to do that. So yeah, and that is, I'll put the link as well in the, let's see. Oh, thank you, Kristen. She's been helping me out today. She's awesome. Thank you. She put the link right here as well. So if you'd like to schedule some time for us to chat, we can dive a little deeper. All right. Who won the prize yesterday, Patricia? It was Andrea, Jennifer, and Lilu. Those were the 3 winners from yesterday. All right. And yeah, that's it. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're going to be talking about taking actions. That's the only way that you can move the fear is through movement. So we are going to do that. All right. Thank you so much. Stop the share. Stop the recording.